Welcome, everyone, to today's episode of Did She Really Say That? Today, we are diving into an interesting world of what's going on with social media. So, in case you haven't heard from us before, we are actually truly creating a whole different paradigm for female business owners, and we want to create more female millionaire business owners than ever before. In case we haven't met, I am Karen Angeli.
Heidi Muma.
And Chef Katrina.
Yeah, so we wanted to dive into the world of what's going on with Facebook. Like, I've been asking that question for years, let's be honest. What's going on with Facebook? Oh my God.
Yeah.
But in case you have missed what's happening, Facebook has decided that they no longer want to have the ability for you to stream into your Facebook groups. So this means like if you do, and I know a lot of people that do this, but if you do trainings on Zoom and you stream into specific groups onto Facebook, Facebook is no longer going to be allowing you to do that. Remind me what the date is. It's in March, isn't
Sometime
it?
in April.
It's in April.
Oh, it's April.
We've got
Okay.
a little bit of time. It's like
Yeah.
this is ahead of the curve. So we're giving you a heads up around what's coming, but it's going to be happening sometime in April. They haven't really given the date, but I believe it's more towards like the end of April is what they're looking at.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's interesting is that with the internet, like looking at what Google did, I feel like this is kind of I mean, the internet's always changing, let's be honest, but this is definitely something is going on with the internet. There's changes, multiple changes going on, and you kind of have to stay on top of it, especially if you're a female business owner. You have to kind of know what's going on and how to be compliant with everything that's going to happen, or you'll get stuck going, oh, shoot, how do I do my stream into into places like Facebook? So it's going to be interesting because I do know a lot of I actually know personally some people that actually do a lot of their training inside of Facebook groups, and they rely on Zoom in order to do that. And I know a lot of female business owners do the same. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I think what it points to for a lot of us, though, is that if you kind of go back a little bit, Facebook, aka Meta, has always been in the progression of moving forward, right? So we knew that it's going to evolve. That was one thing we talk about inside of our Unlocking My Millions inside of the world of marketing, is that marketing has evolved. And these social media platforms are now not just social platforms, they're businesses.
Yeah.
They really are their own business entity. So when you look at it from a business perspective, it was great while it was free for all of us. And the thing that you've got to remember about a business, like we talk with all the women, is that it's profit driven. So if you're not making any money and you're, a leading technology business, then you don't have a business. So a lot of what I look at from what Meta is doing, and they've been dabbling in this for a couple of years. So it kind of went quiet. A few years back when they changed their name to Meta, there was the hint at and the leaning into a more virtual or augmented reality type of platform that they were going to be moving into. So we've heard this before. It kind of has been put on the back burner. Things didn't quite go well in the world of a lot of different things over the last few years. So things have been kind of like media bashing around a lot of different things, but you're starting to see kind of a shift that's happening. And I'm going to take you down an avenue that's not probably going to make sense, but I believe really ties into what's going on with Facebook. You may or may not believe around the world around digital cryptocurrency. Unfortunately, you live in a digital money world anyway. Your card literally just swipes numbers off of a card and those numbers move and then you're back again. So we actually already live in a very much digital currency world. Credit cards, debit cards, how many of you actually carry cash on you would be a question. I know I don't carry a lot like I used to.
Yeah.
But there is the sense that we're already in a digital currency. The reason I bring this up, because a lot of what Meta was doing originally was they wanted to create their own currency tied into the metaverse, which I still believe is being built in the background. You're not hearing a lot about this. And so as you're developing this new technology, it's going to drip into the 2D world that we're currently in on digital media. So social media businesses like Facebook, like Instagram, like TikTok are all 2D. It's a one-way conversation for a lot of our training. Even listening to this podcast, it's a one-way conversation. You're hearing us, but not able to give back feedback to us. So it's a one-way conversation. And I think what they're looking to do is really create a more inclusive conversation. How do you create the back and forth dialogue that you're looking for? So I think what's interesting around Meta and what they're doing with communities is that, yes, they're taking away the ability for a third party integration like Zoom, like StreamYard. So there's a couple of other OBS, which is another one if you guys not have heard of, Open Broadcast Source. That one's a little more technical. I will say that there's not everybody using it. But those tools allowed for us to be able to connect to these platforms and be able to build our business. What I find interesting is that there are things being removed, but like we were talking about earlier, before we jumped on the podcast, Karen, we were talking about how we think and believe that Meta, Facebook, will eventually bring out something, or they're working on a technology that will replace the integration, and it might be something you have to pay for to use your community. It wouldn't surprise me if that was the first toe dip in that Facebook implemented around putting some sort of a pricing structure. Knowing that X now has a pricing structure for subscription, I can see each platform implementing a piece of that into their platform just so that it's not so advertising based forward, because they're getting a lot of pushback around how many ads people are seeing in their newsfeed.
Well, YouTube's had that for years. They have their premium, which you can pay for, and you can get rid of. You can get rid of a lot of ads, and you can, it's an interesting dynamic. Like you said, it's going to be interesting to see if a lot more social media platforms start utilizing that way of growing their revenue.
Yeah. Well, we talk about it quite a bit. Anything to add?
No, I was just saying a lot of them, even like the newer ones, like Alignable, you have the free version, but you also you're constantly being promoted to the premium version, which you get a lot more audience with.
Yeah.
And it's just so it's like I see it's like as the new ones are being introduced, they're already starting with that subscription base.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of ties back to, for those that are like into the marketing, if you've been learning about like how do I sell more in my business, how do I make more money, this ties into the same conversation, because freebies, if you guys looked at how these big businesses were built, they gave a lot of free information away. They allowed you to freely express your information. And that's what a lot of businesses are taught in the digital space, is have a freebie first.
Right.
But you know now that a freebie is going to lead to an offer. Like, it's without, thought that there's nothing is for free. And if the free information you're getting a small dose, but the information that you need, you're going to have to pay for. And I think it's interesting when you bring that into the world of social media, that there's so much been free connections. Like, there's been this free integration of video of this and this and this, and Facebook is recognizing that they are using community to generate revenue. And even within communities, you can have a closed community on Facebook and have it be member payment only. Like, they did allow for that payment structure. So I truly think they're dripping in. And I remember years ago, I want to say it's probably about 5 years ago, they really pushed for more people to start building communities. That was part of their marketing and advertising. I don't know if either one of you remember that, but they were really pushing, like, build your community on Facebook.
Yeah, I remember.
Do you remember that? So it was like, I think this has been like their long game. If you look back at what they've been implementing slowly but surely, it has been more focused on community groups, experiences, as opposed to just the individual content provider posting on the platform. So I think they're trying to shift the conversation from an individualistic to like find your community. And I think inside of that, which is I think an interesting part of being in business right now, is that if you are building a business, community is key. Like, you do need to create that supportive tribe as you build what your program is, because you want those people to be your advocates. You want those people, we talk about having influencers, right? Well, an influencer is somebody that has a big tribe, and businesses are out there looking for those individuals to help promote their product alongside their brand. So we're starting to see a lot of this. So when you talk about what Meta and what Facebook is up to in terms of what's going to happen to communities, is there something else coming? I'm absolutely positive that there is. I don't know what it is. Is there an alternative to be looking at right now? That's the
I'm
question.
I mean, that is the question that a lot of people, I was actually in a Facebook group yesterday where people were asking that question, like, what are we going to do? Like, is there an alternative? And the answer from the admin was at this time, no, but they were like, kind of reverberating what you said, Katrina, that there is a possibility that Facebook will create something for its users. And let's be honest, Facebook, for a really long time, in my opinion, what Facebook does well is groups. I
Yeah.
mean, at the end of the day, that's what they do well. Everything else, you could just like leave. Like, nah, I'm good. But with their groups, they do groups really, really well. I know a lot of influencers that will create their content on places like TikTok or YouTube or X or wherever, and they will take their people and put them into a Facebook group, but they don't really do a whole lot more on Facebook other than nurture that group on Facebook. So that to me tells me that Facebook just does this really, really well. And Facebook knows that they do this really well.
Yep.
And so it would definitely behoove them to look at how people, especially in the business world, are utilizing services to stream into their groups. And it would behoove them to go, what can we create so that we actually take over all of that piece of the pie? Because Facebook, all the social media platforms, they don't want you using another service. They want you using their service.
Yeah.
You look at hosting services like Metricool or Hootsuite, or there's thousands of them, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Facebook really, and Instagram, because it's Meta, but they really don't like it when you use those particular things. And I personally have tested this time and time again. If I use a scheduler like that, my posting generally gets decreased across the board. And I said, I've tested this time and time again, and it always seems to end up that, yeah, if I use something other than posting through Facebook or Instagram, they don't like it. And so that just tells me that Facebook is like, what can we do differently? Because like Facebook now, they didn't for years, but now they have their own scheduling system inside of Facebook. So the difficult thing about that is that you have to go to Facebook and one at a time upload your repurposed content, whereas things like Metricool or Hootsuite, you can just put that information in and it'll disperse it to all these different platforms for you. So
and that goes back to what we talked about in marketing now, is that because platforms are so similar to each other, it's you pick your one and really go to work at leveraging the tools that platform has. Just like, we use a community app that we've built out and everything else. It's like I've gone in and made sure that for TruthBomb, we've mastered how to better use that tool, because that's where I think it's going to be the breakdown for a lot of people over the next few years, specifically for female entrepreneurs, is that the idea of trying to be everywhere at once will hurt them. So picking that one and going in and learning how to use their automation tools, their scheduling tools, their community tools is going to be the benefit of building your business. So instead of trying to be on all these different platforms like we've been taught, the thing to now do is actually slow down and focus in on one, because even like for us, we love YouTube, right? Love YouTube. But now they've integrated their podcast over to YouTube. They have the video shorts, they have the community aspect of it, they have your long content video. Like they're doing so much on that platform that it requires a full integration. Like you have to spend time learning the do's and don'ts of that platform and get it to be a lead generation tool. Once you've mastered that one platform as a lead generation tool and you're having the business, then hire somebody to help you put your business on another platform. This is really where the shift is starting to come in marketing, is that the idea of being on all these platforms, unless you've been doing it since 2004, right? and have been building your business alongside of all these new platforms coming out, it doesn't serve you anymore to do that. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
I just
No.
think about it and I'm exhausted. My brain hurts because you did that.
I mean, you can do it, but you just have to turn off your brain and just do it. And that's not very fun. So it just gets
your audience.
Fast track to burnout.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that I personally, and I will die on this rock. I love video and I can't help it. I just really I like all of the possibilities of what you can do with video, what you can do with video editing. I like short form video. I like long form video. I like figuring out what works and what doesn't for both of them. So for me, like, the thing that's really important is find the platform that feels good for you and get really good at it. And I can tell you, like, I look at my platforms that I've built in the past. I don't feel the same way about them as I do about places like either YouTube or TikTok, because I'm like, that was fun. Like, I enjoyed that process. And if I don't enjoy the process, I'm not going to stick with it. And here's the thing, I have stuck with places like Facebook or Instagram for years and was like slowly dying inside.
It's a energy suck, right? So especially if it's not in your, and we talk about this inside of Unlocking My Millions quite a bit. Especially when marketing, and I love that you love video, right? And I see the excitement around it. And that's where you want to play in your genius. And there are some of you that will love podcasting and will be trying to find all the nuances of how to podcast and monetize and collaborate and everything else. So there are so many different elements, and some of you will love to write. Some of you will find that articles and blog posts and that content creation piece really lights you up. And that's where we invite you inside of Unlock My Millions to find that and then follow that path to fruition, because it really is the path that you're choosing to be on, not because media told you you needed to be there, not because some guru told you to be there. What we've learned around working with more and more women is that when we are given I almost want to say permission, but that's not really the word, but when you're given the opportunity to choose your marketing strategy instead of being at the effect of all the marketing language out there, that you'll actually create that synergy of, okay, I'm going to go to work, do this, and then I'm going to rest. And then I'm going to go do this, because now you don't feel like you have to be scattered all over. I got to post here and I got to post here and I got to do this here. And I got you start letting go of all that and really finding your passion and your purpose around what marketing suits your messaging, your business, and how do you want to show up for your audience around your product, your service, whatever that looks like, whether it's a physical brick and mortar, whether it's service based, or whether it's product based, right? Like any one of them works.
And this honestly took me years to figure out, because I didn't know when I first started in the online space, here's Facebook. Like, let's do Facebook. And it was like, okay, I guess I'm doing Facebook. And I didn't figure out until it was probably almost 3 years in that I realized I really don't like this. This isn't for me. And it took me a while. And I now can recognize when I don't like a platform almost instantly, just be like, this does not feel right for me. And I can just walk away from it. But the thing is that that's a skill set to figure out about yourself. It truly is a skill set to go, what do I actually enjoy doing? And where do I want to spend my time, instead of where is somebody telling me to spend my time? Like, I literally am in the place now where I'm like, if somebody tells me I have to be somewhere, I will be like, are you sure?
Yeah.
So like, I do.
We know, but Karen's not shy about saying, ooh, I know I don't want to be there, right? That's the beauty of it, is that we want you to find where you best work as a female entrepreneur, right? That is the gift that you get inside of Unlocking My Millions. That is why, you talk about it's so interesting when we started building Unlocking My Millions as a course and started like looking at and working with women on how to create this flow from idea to concepts to product to finances to marketing. And so many of the business training courses I look at, they teach you product development and marketing, which are like right here. But what's interesting is when you talk product development and you talk marketing, there's this section right here in the middle that nobody talks about. It's called cash management. And they tell you how to set up the business, but they don't tell you how to manage the cash that you're going to be making from product to sale, right? So there's a space missing. Not only that, what we recognized for women is that there's a couple of steps above product development that if we're not doing the work and we're not talking and getting centered around how is this going to integrate, how is this going to be woven into our lives, we actually are creating more conflict with our business. And then we have the sense of losing time with our family, losing time with things that are important to us, the deterioration of health, because we haven't really gone through that whole flow process of understanding how this is going to weave into our lives as a business. We want the financial success, but a lot of times we do it at the cost of our health, at the cost of our family, at the cost of so many different things in our life, relationships, all of that, because we're so focused in on this one thing. We are not getting the knowledge or experience of weaving this business through our lives so that it feels more congruent and authentic.
Well, I think too, a lot of that comes from this feeling that it has to happen right now. And I let that go a long time ago, about 4 years ago, when I started meditating. I realized that was the first thing that needed to go, was my feeling that it has to happen now. And now instead, I just go, it's just part of the process. So going back to Facebook and what they're doing with groups, this is part of the process. That is it. Just looking at your business as this is just part of the process, and stop taking it so goddamn serious. Like, just enjoy the process. Like, when we get into this state of survival is when we stop enjoying the process, and that's when you get burnt out. Period. End of story. When you are literally just going, oh my God, this has to go a certain way. And when it doesn't necessarily go that way, we get angry, frustrated, overwhelmed, burnt out, all the things. Instead of just going, that was interesting. I wonder what I might do differently next time. That question, instead of focusing on what's not working, the question of what might I do differently is so freeing. Stop getting so obsessed, guys, with going, oh my God, Facebook is not going to let me stream into my community group. That's not the story that you want to keep telling yourself. What is the story you want to keep telling yourself? Well, what might I do differently? What are my other options out there? This is how you rewire your entire thought process around your business, and you set yourself free at the end of the day, because now things don't have to happen on a certain timeline. They don't have to happen the way you think they have to. You can actually allow yourself to be surprised with how things show up and what happens, because you allow things to open up. You allow more possibility when you look at your life like that too.
Yeah. I agree. And community is so important. And I get that you guys want to serve your community. For those that are using Facebook for that, is like, it is a service. Like, you do wonder, it's like, how am I going to move this community? The one thing I've learned over the years, and because I've had to move communities, like I've had to move communities from one platform to another platform to another platform. Like, what's interesting is that those that are highly engaged with you will follow over. Right. And those that have been totally unengaged, it actually is kind of a good place
a blessing
to clean their space, right? So clean your community, create newly from that space, because you're able to really focus in on what it is the community wants, and not just have a bunch of people there for vanity's sake of having, hey, I've got 10,000 people in this group. But if only 200 are actively engaging with you, then focus on the 200. Right. And bring them through the next journey. So if you do find yourself saying, hey, what are some other alternatives to Facebook groups that I want to be involved in? Because for me, one of the reasons I moved off of Facebook groups because I was tired of competing with notifications. I meant notices and notifications. There were words there. But when you get lost in that notification, because every comment, every engagement is a notification, then my question that I found myself asking was, how do I clear the noise for my community so they actually get to hear what I want to say and the message that I'm trying to convey and the message the community wants to convey to each other, right? So one of the things around Facebook for me that had me go, okay, this is great for community. It's a good starting point, but where might else I bring them? What are other alternatives? And so I started looking at where can I build my own community, right? What does that look like? So there are things like Circle. There are things like
Mighty Networks.
Mighty Network. There are things like Disciple Media. There are other like app community platforms that are really just starting to get out there, which I love because I saw the writing on the wall probably about 3 years ago now. And I invested with Truth Bomb as like what we built for our community was to create a community app. So instead of being web-based, we wanted to be more app-based. So allowing for women to really like connect with us and connect with each other while on the go, because business isn't done standing still, right? It's not done locked away. And you might have questions that come up and you have to worry about, I got to log into this website or do stuff like that. What became apparent for me is like, how do you shift that conversation and start building that private, engaged community that actually wants to be there? And so that was a big piece of what we looked at. And each one of these community building websites or community building apps, because there's a blend of both, right? You can have this whole website that's just built for community that you can take your community over there off of social media. And then you have a little more control of the experience, the language, and you're competing with nobody, but really offering a place for your community to hear each other and not be distracted by all the noise of being on a platform such as Facebook, right? Such as LinkedIn, because there's just a lot of noise that also happens in those environments. So I think it's interesting as we look at, what are some other alternatives? There's quite a few out there, and they all vary based on what you're able to, spend, right? Invest in developing that community. But community is key and crucial. So if you're somebody as a business owner, it's like, I want to continue to serve my community. The question is like, where do you want to serve them? And don't be afraid to move community, right? Like in some respects, that's actually a really good thing. And for us, one of the things I found was that you can do a paid community or you can do what they call a freemium, which is kind of what you're seeing Facebook and all these social platforms move into. It's free to get X amount of information or stuff, or like you'll get advertised to, or you can get the paid version and really just have the experience of the information, the course, the training you want without all the distractions. So when I looked at what could Truth Bomb do that would set us apart, is that we created the course and community together, right? And it's all mobile based. So what we did, we said, okay, there's a minimum investment up front to get into Unlocking My Millions. And then from that, if you want to stay in the continual language, activities, communities, live training that's ongoing for a minimum fee of $99 a month, you get continuous support, continuous training, continuous activities that support you in building a business, because we know that building a business isn't a one and done. You don't just build the product, sell the product, and be like, yay! There is would you guys all agree at this point that there's been like an emotional journey in the process of
absolutely.
This?
And I love that the women are talking, and it's just like, and as they're talking, and as they're participating in all the groups, they're getting more clarity in what their actual business is.
Yeah.
It's like, sometimes it's like, I think we get so overwhelmed and we experience burnout because we don't actually talk about what's going on, what's really going on.
And I will say that there's a difference between when women all get together and talk, there's a different conversation. The moment you bring a guy into the room, the conversation doesn't quite flow.
Yeah.
because there are certain things that we talk about as women about our bodies, our emotions, our hormones, what we're going through that isn't part of the normal business conversation, which is interesting because for women, it should be part of our normal business conversation. And that was one of the things we looked at. It was like our emotional, our energy, our physiology as a woman. How does that tie into what we're building as a business? Not as a detrimental, not in that we have to be less emotional or less like ourselves in order to fit into this norm of what business looks like, but really allowing women to be elevated and empowered in this process of ascending from who they know themselves to be into that millionaire mindset profile experience of themselves. I think that's been one of the beautiful journeys around this process so far.
I think too, it more than bringing a man into the room and women not talking about those things is the question that I ask is, how come you're not talking about those things in front of a man? Is it because you feel insecure? So like for me, that's the question that begs. Because for me, I'll tell anybody like, if this is what's happening, this is what's happening, like, and I don't care if you have a penis or a vagina. It doesn't matter to me. Like, this is what's going on. So the question is there something that's going on in our minds as females that we've been programmed to think we can't talk a certain way because maybe our dad, when we were younger, said we couldn't talk about our period. Like maybe that's what it is. I know I have a friend who she said that this is what happened with her dad. Her dad wouldn't even go and buy her tampons when she started her period. Yeah. So is that something that she's been programmed? And so she's choosing not to talk about these things because she's thinking that all men are this way. And I don't think that that's true. I think that it comes down to our security in who we are. Because let's be honest, like everybody has natural bodily everythings that happen. Like, come on, like this is a natural thing in life. So if I'm gonna make somebody uncomfortable, I'll make somebody uncomfortable. It is what it is.
That's the beauty of you, Karen, is that you have this medical background where you've seen bodies, I've
seen it all. Yeah.
Right. So there's this veil that's been removed for you, but that is not the norm for a lot of us women, is that we're still in this conversation of body shaming, of not seeing ourselves for the beauty that's within. And, I think just as there's always been the good boys club, right? The closed, doors, men's clubs where they talk about certain things. I think to some extent, we haven't experienced that fully as women in this time period, in this lineage or this time frame that we're in. So we're asking women to come back together to make this a more common conversation for us so that we can have it in front of a guy. But if we're not comfortable having it with another woman, well, then I can see why we're having a problem having this in front of a male, right? So I think what we bring in here is the ability to make it normal to have this conversation so that when they do talk to anybody and everybody like you do, Karen, it's just a normal conversation. It's
just life.
It's just life.
Well, it's life, but it's also where you're coming from in your background. And there's different energies when it's just women in a group versus a mixed group. It's a different energy.
Has been forever.
And it's just kind of like, it's the difference between, introverts and extroverts and how you're going to go to an event and what your comfort level is. It's like, we talked about having workshops and events at different houses, and we talked about sharing rooms versus people who don't want to share a room. And it's just like, to me, I'm just like, who more the merrier. I'm just like, if I go to a hotel conference at a hotel, I'm like, who wants to be my roommate? I'll be the first one. I'll be like all the time. I can't imagine being in a room by myself. To me, that's scary. But then there's the introverts who will be like, oh no, I will never share a room. And I think it's the same thing with the conversations in the room, where it's just like when a man comes in, for some women, that completely changes the environment. Yeah. And they're not free to express themselves the same way that they would be if it was just females.
Yeah. And it's just giving, and I think the more that we talk as women about what we're dealing with, we free up the conversation and we free up each other to really be and have, like, hanging out with Karen, I know she's got no qualms about anything. So it's like there's a freedom that Karen gifts us, right? By being able to just talk openly about anything, because nothing is off the table. Right. But you don't come across a lot of women.
You want to talk about this weird thing on my elbow? Let's talk about how it's nasty and disgusting.
All right. We'll save that for the next podcast. The next podcast. We'll put a censor on that one.
Yeah, we've gone completely off topic. Whoops.
No, but it all talks about the value of community. And I know we started off with what is Facebook going to do, but here's the thing, that at the end of the day, it really is up to you how you want to serve your community.
Mm-hmm.
And don't let a platform dictate how you want to serve. If it doesn't serve you as a business owner to be on that platform anymore, go find another solution. Easy peasy.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh,
It doesn't
yeah.
take a little work, yeah, but once it's set in motion, it's set in motion. But then the question is, how much of your business do you want to control? And how much do you want let other businesses control your business? So,
Mhm.
cool beans.
Yeah.
Conversation.
Yeah. So with that, I think we can call this one a wrap. So, yeah, exactly. But ching. So guys, if you haven't checked it out already, we actually have our signature course, Unlocking My Millions, where we're literally showing you how to unlock your millions, your million ideas, your million possibilities, and yes, your $1 million. So if you want to check that out, go ahead to truthbombmarketing.com and you can grab that course today and you'll become a part of the Truth Bomb Academy group as well, our community group, where you can literally talk about any and all things that you feel comfortable with. So in case you haven't already, go ahead and leave us a 5-star on your favorite podcast host. And if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead, give us a like. Go ahead and subscribe. Yes, smash the subscribe so that you can hang out with us a little bit longer. So with that, I will see everyone inside Truth Bomb Academy.